I thought it went. All right, cool. Let me start the preso.
Is that obsidian?
Oh, right. Yeah, good pick. Yeah, great minds think alike. All right, thanks all for coming. Today's presentation is a lightning talk. I'm going to share my job search experience. I call it big or complexity of job search. I'll tell you later about it. So we'll have like kind of couple of stages. We'll talk about few stages of the job search, starting from your CV preparation to the negotiation stage. Well, I'll probably try to focus more on technical thing. We're all interested about like technical challenge and system design. And I'll probably, share some links and useful resources to get along with it. About me, my handle is friendly ants on GitHub anywhere. My name is Anton. I'm engineer, software stuntman, developers advocate. These are my hobbies: camping, motorcycling. I live in Melbourne. I work at Fresho since Monday. Yeah, and yeah. So I'll drink to that. Great success. And this is my clickbait website that you can find more about me. These are kind of the stages that I kind of see the job search. The first one we'll talk about if you're made redundant. I'll give you some tips. Then we'll talk about the CV, how you update your CV. Then the application stage, how you carpet bomb all this, LinkedIn listings and SIG listings. How you go through screening with HRs, with the managers. That's how I found you generally have either HR or manager screening first, maybe both. Then we'll talk about the coding challenges, technical challenge with some code review. And generally, if you're successful with your coding challenge, you go into system design stage. It can be optional, but in my experience, I found, there's a few things to catch. And then there's like a final parts, behavioral interview. It's more like a soft stage. And then you go into offer and negotiation. So let's get on with it. If you're made redundant, I find the best way to go about it is just to go to Fair Work Tribunal and lodge a free consultation with a lawyer. They'll give you free advice for 1 hour. It's all paid by our government, and you can act on it, or you can just move on. But you have 21 days to apply, and I recommend you to take this advice. I know a lot of people been made redundant across the world, so yeah, it's a free advice. Anyways, with the CV, what I found, don't come up with a complicated CVs. Just keep it simple. Keep it probably to 1 page, 2 pages. Make it easily accessible. Don't use Microsoft Office or Doc. Try to use it on GitHub, using Markdown. We're all doing README, so this is the best way to share it. So this is, for example, my CV on GitHub, and you can fork it. Basically, it has all these layouts and simple README files, and you just link it, and it's all printable. Like in single page. It's all formatted for CSS, so feel free to use it. And the main thing, don't go too deep into your experience. Just list key deliverables. You see, we should list, I delivered this, within this time frame, so I optimize the money. I delivered this project using these tools, and I saved company, something like that. So yeah, for example, one of my favorites, I ensured the team of 6 was fully caffeinated with entire chicken coffee beans. I'm connected with the DHH on LinkedIn, organized a team bonding exercise through a potato sack, and spearheaded 4 Microsofters. Yeah, it's my. Anyways, so as you see, it's kind of, connected, delivered, organized. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Just don't go into technical details. I use Kubernetes, Docker. Generally, your CV is scanned by scrapers. They're like Python scripts. That just strips your PDF, and nobody reads it. Unless it gets to the technical engineering team. But first stage, you just need to pass the screen and pass this Python scripts and HR scripts, and you just need to populate it with the keyword arguments. Then you have to apply. With application, my personal experience, you have to go as wide as you can. Try to apply to as many roles as you can. Don't waste time much on tailoring every application. Just try to carpet bomb everyone just to get those conversations going. and start applying for jobs that aren't ideal, you think, just to get the experience, get the practice, just get your foot in the door, into first interview to get your motivation going. Apply for JavaScript roles, TypeScript roles, Python. There are 10 times more JavaScript roles than Ruby at the moment, and will get you into this habit of practicing and keep your motivation going. Because if you apply to Ruby roles, it's a very small market. You can get demotivated. And once you find your dream Ruby role, you'll be prepared based on this JavaScript, TypeScript interviews. And as I said, don't waste your time tailoring. It's contested topic, but I would say just go as wide as you can. Try to get as many knocks on any door as you can. And the best resources I find, LinkedIn and Indeed. Seek is just a waste of time, but LinkedIn is generally has a good refresh rate.
I don't know what's in is it a search engine?
It's a website, indeed.com, I think. Yeah, a lot of people find it useful. I didn't.
Jobs.
Yeah, it's job listing. It's not like only tech jobs. I found a lot of like tech specific websites, but they're only for America, so people don't really respond to those. They're like very specific websites for tech jobs, but people generally look for very senior roles in Australia, but they don't really respond to others. That's me. Then once you get this kind of scraping thing, and yeah, believe me, my CV full of this like coffee bean kind of and DHH clauses, past those filters, and you get this first stage of interview, which is HR interviews, and sometimes it's your manager. So generally they're like pretty generic. So have a beautiful story. Try to have those questions. Why you're looking for a change? They're all asking the why you're looking for the company. What are you looking in this company? And try to avoid money discussion, because they try to lock you in into certain. Because generally money is like depends on the experience. It's such a dynamic topic, and yeah, try just say I'm looking for the right fit, and I'm looking for the right company. Managers can do basic tech questions, so be aware. Don't think it can be kind of just a screening interview. Sometimes they ask you some quite complicated questions, so have some basic understanding of like your tooling, your language, your paradigms, kind of all this generic stuff. And another important thing that always catch me, trust your browsers. So on Macs, you have to give permissions to share your screen. So if you do conferences but you've never shared your screen, you have to reboot your browser, and it's very embarrassing. So you have to test sharing screen on Chrome or Firefox, any web use, because generally companies use Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Google Chrome. So yeah, you try to share your screen before joining these interviews. Coding challenge, there are two obviously scenarios here. You can take home challenge, or you can do live coding. I always encourage people to take home and follow it up with a live code, because you're less stressed. But if you're confident, you can go on live code. I'm really bad at it. I get lost, I get nervous, and yeah, I do stupid things. Then we'll probably talk about understanding the basic computer science principles. A lot of interviews that I've been to, they touch on these topics around like search algorithms, like basic data structures. A lot of people say this is like completely useless topic, nobody's using it. This stage, like in real life, you don't really need to understand sorting algorithms. But I would say this is a secret handshake for a lot of companies, just to do this kind of screening, so you understand the basic concepts. So like, why change the rules if you can learn the rules, learn these basic algorithms, understand the basic data structures, understand the basic sorting algorithms. And yeah, this is like a secret shake in the industry, especially for the big companies like FANG companies, Google, Zendesk, they all ask these questions. And my personal, I love learning those. And once you understand the basics, you don't have to go very deep into extravagant like red tree sorting. You'll enjoy your life. You'll understand Ruby, you'll understand C, you understand how everything works in the backend, how everything is kind of built from these building blocks. So in terms of understanding basic data structure, understand what's a dynamic and static arrays, and the string. So basically string essentially is an array. There's a brief kind of teaser, like static, consider it like an array is like a bucket. For example, you have a bucket, right? And it's a static bucket. You can't really expand it. So you can put some numbers in it or beers and cans in this bucket, and it has like certain capacity. If you want a big array, you want to swap this bucket to a bigger bucket, and it's like works in fundamental age, and it's kind of have capacity, how you move the beers inside this bucket. This is all simple. Understand the hash map. What's a linked list, a node, how you kind of, like a chain together. What's a queue and stack, how to pop from that queue, how to, shift, unshift. What's a tree and try, graph, how to, like, what's the basic. You don't have to have a deep understanding of those. Maybe look into the ring buffer and the least recently used cache algorithm, but this is like optional. You don't have to, but these are essentially the top ones. They're the fundamentals of any algorithm, any coding challenge. And just understand basic search algorithms. For example, it's a linear search, which you just kind of go one by one. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Or binary search, when you kind of split it and kind of to check left, right, is it less or more? So this is super simple, but you have to try it, you have to understand it, you have to build it yourself, and this is super easy to do. You don't need like more than a week to kind of be an expert in this field. Understand recursion. I try to show it, with the share screen, but basically imagine you kind of stand in front of the mirror and there's a mirror like behind you. So this is like a recursion. This is like a function that calls itself like infinite kind of thing. So how you kind of traverse this recursion, how you traverse this kind of infinite stack of functions. So basically there's 3 steps. There is a preparation for recursion when you check, are we in this recursion? Are we in the correct place? And then if you're not, we go a level deeper into recursion, and then there's a post recursion and going up the stack and just return it. Once you understand how it works, you'll look at things in a completely different way. Understand tree traversal. This is based on recursion. Basically, a lot of code in interviews, they revolved around like, build me a file system, and this is essentially file system is a tree. And finding something in your file system is like traversing this tree, traversing every directory, every try, like, and say, oh, is this directory contains this name? Yeah, so they all kind of go hand in hand. Understand the basic sorting algorithms like bubble sort, which is essentially like, bubbling up to the top, just kind of things, like sort one by one and sort bubble them to the top. Quick sort, heap sort, merge sort. That's like, there are so many of those, you can. But you don't have to go to learn any of those. Just try to do bubble sort and quick sort, and don't worry about the heap sort and merge. Big O complexity of time and space, again, contested topic, but people will ask you questions. What's a big O complexity of bubble sort or unsort? Big O complexity essentially is a dependency between your input and the time it takes for the function to return the result. So basically, if you go through every function, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's an n complexity. But if you loop like through the functions, or maybe not explain it well, but yeah, like if you split our input like in half every time, it's like log of n. You have to understand all these concepts, how your functions, how your sorting algorithms like perform in terms of time and space. So memory and time. There is a fantastic course by Primogen. I follow this guy. He's really good. This is Alga Prima. You can find this link. It's on Front-End Masters. It's a really great resource. I think it's like 12 hours of videos together with some TypeScript kind of exercises. It's free. Highly recommend doing it. He touches on these topics and explains everything in detail. And yeah, you can use this kind of graphs, and this is like kind of big O complexity of log of n, log of 1, log of n square. Yeah, so without diving in, yeah, you can just follow this presentation and click on these links. Give you a quick kind of tooltip how to calculate everything. Generally constants are ignored in big O complexity. If you have, like, for example, array of 10 beers or 100 beers, this is complexity of n because it's constant 100 or 10 or million, it's in complexity. But if you have to do like, on 100 beers and just pour it into 100 of glasses, which is like kind of, it's like n on n. It's like loop within the loop. So basically it becomes n squared. So it powers it. And if you have like loops within another loop, it will become n cubed. And yeah, and it's generally considered like a worst case. You know, you don't really calculate the best case. But get familiar with those. How you practice it, there are so many resources online to practice it, like HackerRank, Exorcism. I would highly recommend you go into LeetCode, because LeetCode gives you the feedback on those big O complexities and time live. You just solve and it tells you, oh, your algorithm took this time. It's like 90% better than the rest, or 10% better than the rest. And you can understand, you know, oh, this sort of algorithm, you know, like basic loop took so many seconds. This is fantastic resource. But the problem with all the resources, they try to push you all the exercises. There are too many, you get overwhelmed. So I found this resource, NeetCode, it's like YouTuber, just created this little tree, a way to focus, you know, with your LeetCode exercises. So basically, this is like a tree where you start with arrays and hashing, 2 pointers, stack, binary search, slide in windows. You don't have to complete, and it has like, you click on it, it has like all these links to the LeetCode. Start with easy. The easy exercise doesn't mean it's easy. It's super hard. Yeah, like, you know, hard. I was stuck on hard. Like, I couldn't really go to hard. But basically, I recommend you to skim through the trees and go as deep as you can, like only on easy exercises. Don't go like, you complete all these 3. You just go next and just go to 2 pointers and just complete one of those and go next. It gives you like a tease. You'll keep yourself happy, you know, because you learn. It's like, it's so fantastic. You do binary search. Oh yeah, I just discovered binary search. I implemented binary search. It was so simple. And then once you complete most of them, you don't have to go to dynamic programming, backtracing, graphs. It's like, it's a bit thing. I just completely find this top of the tree is super essential. Maybe tries heap priority. Yeah, so, and then you can probably go to medium, you know, if you feel comfortable, and if you're very good, go to hard. But I rarely find interviews go beyond easy challenges. You know, if you solve all these LeetCode challenges, very likely, 90% chance likely you will see it in the interview. Familiarize yourself with the HackerRank platform. This is alternative to LeetCode. It doesn't give you the feedback of big on complexity, but a lot of interviews use this platform. So it's quite a quirky platform with quite funky shortcuts. So I found you just have to touch it some, you know, just log there once and do a couple of exercises there to kind of get familiar, so you don't get lost in your live coding challenge. I recommend everyone to use ChatGPT against a Copilot, because once you encounter some problem, try to, instead of Googling it, just ask ChatGPT. It gives you instant feedback, explanation of fundamental concepts. Don't ask its complicated questions or some coding questions. Ask about some Linux knowledge. What are the tools for debugging? How to, you know, debug this, and, you know, what's the best? Because it's a pull approach. Like Git Copilot pushes some code onto you. You don't really want to kind of somebody pushing code. You just have a question, ask ChatGPT, and it's way better than a lot of other resources. Put major effort in your coding challenge. Or let me know if I'm running out of time. Yeah, put major effort in your coding challenges. Provide a test. Always write tests. Ideally, if you test drive it, that would be amazing. Review it by somebody. Have a, like, you know, sleep over it. Don't submit it. You think, oh, I'm confident. Have a good README. Ideally, you want to have a good makefile. You can read more about makefiles yourself, but, you know, I left a link for my personal makefile. This is essentially like kind of a little script, you know, that tells you, oh, you just do make install, make basic, and, you know, it just explains the basic things. This is the wrong link, but instead of doing the bundle exec, you know, all the specific Ruby or JavaScript or Python, you just do make install, and it goes and kind of puts everything together in this nice manner. Maybe create a CI script for your makefile, because GitHub, if you use GitHub, it can, you know, plug in and piggyback on top of your makefile and create like a CI, so like continuous integration, so it runs tests in the cloud. You know, GitHub actually is completely free, and if you use a makefile, you can show that your interviews that you're doing some cloud testing, which is super easy to do. And search GitHub. You know, there's so many submissions for your problem for the same company. You know, it's like there's so many submissions, but you have to be careful because there are so many bad submissions. But yeah, you get some inspirations from there. Keep up with industry trends. Highly recommend to follow like Ruby Weekly, and a few other blogs, whatever you feel, but people will ask you the question like, how do you keep up with the latest industry trends? What's the latest industry development? What's the latest Ruby version? What's the latest Rails development? What do you like most about development, like in recent development in Ruby, like why JIT or like, new case matcher statement? Yeah, you have to be kind of to be on top of those things, but yeah, it's
You mentioned pragmatic engineer. What's that?
Pragmatic engineer, it's Substack kind of blog I follow.
Okay.
Yeah. And they have like a LinkedIn as well, pragmatic engineer. I find it useful.
Good. Right. I don't know how to say it. GERGELEY.
Oh yeah. I think so. Yeah. But there's so many. I tried to put. I was limited in time to prepare this, but there's so many. There's quite a few developers on LinkedIn. They post quite often system design diagrams. But understand the basic design patterns. This is again contested topic. This is like you need to know the basics. There's the structural, behavioral, and creational types of these design patterns, and there are like millions of those, like generally 16 design patterns within those categories that you have to be familiar. And I recommend this Refactoring Guru website, which is fantastic to visualize your design patterns, what it is, design patterns. So for example, you click on creational patterns, you see like factory method, abstract method. A lot of these design patterns used in Rails. So for example, factory method, and it gives you like, you have the factory to create your objects, and it's like super, well explained, diagrammed, tells you the program's limitations of it. But this is quite advanced. I didn't really see a lot of, use in asking, but I put in my README that I use this design pattern for my solution, and people say, oh yeah, this guy knows about design patterns. He knows about big O complexity. This gives you all these like hidden check marks, in your interview and your README, and you want to demonstrate that you're familiar with those topics, even if you don't know them. So there are a couple of links for tech interview handbook. You just look it up on GitHub. It's like contains a lot of information, coding interview tips, how to prepare. These are all links I found. And have questions for interviews. People expect you to ask questions, and I found for me, I genuinely ask those questions because I genuinely can benchmark the culture in the company. What's the engineering culture? Because the other engineers can say something. Are they free to speak their mind? Because this is your job for next few years, or year or two, maybe more. To ask them about your learning days and budget, what's the allocation, because it's another kind of leverage point for negotiation. And what's the plan for them, like for 1, 2, 5 years? Do they have a clear plan? Are they going to expand their team, or are they going to keep their team? It gives you the hints about their money and their investment. And what versions of Ruby and Rails they use. Basically, if they don't use like anything beyond Ruby 3, it's kind of a red flag. It's like, why you have to ask those questions. Why you're not using the latest dependency? It's like kind of all the good questions, and people say, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's like serious. Now we'll move to system design part. System design is not always the case. It's kind of optional. I wouldn't expect system design interview for junior roles, but yeah, like I guess we're all seniors after a year and CTOs after 2. But yeah, with the system design interviews, don't go like study like on the surface. Start like go as wide as you can. Try to understand how Instagram is built, how Facebook is built, how TikTok is built. Try to have a basic understanding, how they kind of do, their load balancing down to database and storage, analytics. You don't have to go deep into very, very nits and grits of every database, every load balance. Just try to understand holistically how it's all works. Imagine it's like a home server. Yeah, and practice, mock interviews, watch mock interviews. I found, when I burned out with learning, I just turn on YouTube and I just listen to some ex-Google engineer, like CTO of a big company, and they do these mock interviews. Exponent web, YouTube channel is pretty good. Yeah, so you can just, when you burn out, just put it on play and go for a walk and listen. They just talk for 40 minutes how you design a TikTok, and they say, oh yeah, we'll do this and we'll do this. We'll use AWS server, and you can hear all this kind of technologies and a quick explanation why you want to do this AWS technology versus another, because your engineering cost is expensive and AWS is cheaper. And it's like, oh yeah, I never used this, but from listening to this quick talk, And there's a cool another source like System Design Primer on GitHub. It talks about a lot of things, like, you know, shows you the diagrams for these different services, like, you know, like it starts, you know, with the UDP and networking, and it shows you some basic schemas for Facebook and different applications. But I found it's pretty outdated because they talk about some, you know, knowledge that's been dated, and yes, like Kep theorem, for example. A lot of people say, "Oh, Kep theorem. Do you know what's the Kep theorem?" Kep theorem is obsolete now. So, but they still talk about it. They think it's a good thing. But yeah, it's still a good resource to understand, you know, SQL, NoSQL, or Squil, and TCP, REST. A bit of everything. That's how you kind of go into it, and then you can click those links and go deeper and deeper. I would recommend this book that we just finished with the book club, because this is way more legit. This website, it's 5 years old book, but and it's pretty rich, super rich. But I highly recommend you to go through this YouTube channel that gives you the summary of every chapter. Like, it summarizes every chapter in 15-20 minutes. Talks about, you know, what's the database, what's the append-only database, and it builds up on it, and it talks about replication, batch processing, event streaming in very simple terms. But when you read the book, it gets quite rich, and it's very big book. But yeah, you can do a shortcut just using my, you know, read my notes on my GitHub or watch this YouTube. Familiarize yourself with Excalibur. Everybody's using this tool. This is like you know, diagramming tool. Yeah, just, you know, for system design, you just do this, you know. Yeah. Everybody's using it. Yeah, there's like a lot of kind of cool libraries, you know. You can just download some icons for it. So be very confident with this tool for your system design and diagramming, or any even technical. And then we go to behavioral. This is like less interesting. Everybody's asking me all this question, how you handle the conflict. You know, every interview literally, like, you know, do I look like a bully? I don't know. I generally ask this question, like I generally say I have no ego. I know nothing. I'm very new to the industry, and generally you try to vocalize your opinion. You try to listen to others and try to understand, you know, what's the kind of merge point. And if you can't come to agreement, just go to your peers, Slack, request for comments, RFC, which is a big in our industry. Go to Atlassian, whatever, and always have questions for them. Always have questions, as I said before. And then we go to the offer stage. If you're successful, hopefully we all get $1 million for our jobs a year. Negotiate. There's a great talk by Colin this year, I think, RubyConf, how to negotiate and don't be a good person. Always negotiate, be polite, but be firm, because you know, it's your job. And always ask, you know, you don't have to say, oh, this is my offer, but you just can ask, you know, are you with the counter offer? If you're not happy with the salary, is it like, ask them if it's negotiable, or are there any kind of bonuses or sign-up bonuses or anything you can do to kind of sweeten the deal if I sign it now? Because they all try to push you into the sign of the contract, like now. Like, yeah, I had it so many times, and I blew up so many good offers because they just want me to say yes yesterday. I was like, man, just give me some time, you know. Yeah, try to kind of, yeah, align a lot of interviews within like a week. A lot of startup, you know, they get offended if you don't accept their offer within like a very short time. So from my experience, you generally have like a week, you know, and you can stretch it, but try to communicate it. Try to not to leave them hanging and say, I'll come back to you in a week. Just communicate to them every day or every other 2 days and say, oh, this is where I am. I'm filling your form. You can always sign the contract and walk away from it. Yeah, I've been being a nice guy, and I said like, oh, let me review the contract and, you know, be a good guy, and then I tell you yes. And yeah, I've been just, you know, the rug been pulled out for me, because I was like reviewing the clauses in the contract, and it was like a dodgiest contract by a big international company. I was like, yeah, you can't do it. But yeah, other tips: maintain a pace and routine, eat healthy, don't drink alcohol, don't eat fast food. Yeah, because it builds up. You need, this is a marathon. Don't give up. Don't waste time. Don't waste time on, for example, LinkedIn search, because it can be demotivating. Just try to rotate your activities. Try to do different things, because it will give you, so keep your dopamine loop going, because you learn subject, you know, you feel happy, you can apply again. and again, but if you constantly apply on LinkedIn, this is super demoralizing. People, unfortunately, you don't fit for us. It's like, what do you want? I'm overqualified for this role. So yeah, don't be discouraged. A lot of people, just don't read your CV. It can be just purely because of this Python script that doesn't filter you out. Learn and keep learning. I think it's fantastic time to learn. Participate in meetups, book clubs. This is a fantastic way to expose you. And if you run a book club, say, oh, you run a book club. This is fantastic. Yeah, let's do that. I didn't expect it. Yeah. If you need help, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to give you tips. And remember, as I said, it's a fantastic time to learn. I got a PhD in job search now. I'm like, I learned so many concepts, outside of work because I had so much time to do a job search, and I'm so glad that I've done it. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And any questions? Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I will check the chat. It's all good.
Okay, at the moment. What was your strike rate? Like how many jobs?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I was talking. I think I was getting like one offer a month. Realistically, I was searching for 3.5 months, like 3 months realistically. I blew up a lot of offers because I was like doing stupid thing, and I was like applying for very good roles at the start, and I was like, oh, only if I knew this is happening. I was like, oh, having issues with the Microsoft Teams. It's like, oh, I can't connect with the Firefox. I need like another browser, and you start to install, waste 10 minutes of your interview time by trying to connect to the system. So yeah, I blew up a lot of things at the start. But yeah, I passed a lot of interviews. Sometimes, like been caught on very simple things. So I was like, oh, you went too deep into the topic, and I was like, oh, what do you want? Like, like the problem I found, a lot of system design interviews, they don't really expect you to give them a like answer, because generally with a software, it's like there's no right or wrong answer. It's all like kind of you can do it this way or this way, but people are so rigid, they expect you to give them the answer that they're after, and it's like in 80-90%, you don't give them the answer you want. You give the answer, like correct answer from this design intensive book. And I was like, what do you want me to hear? I just read this book. This is like industry standard. This is the best practice, but it doesn't mean it's a bad answer because you don't use it in your production. So yeah, don't be discouraged by that. But yeah, I've been burned, and I was furious because I was like, oh, what happened? I spent like 60 working hours a week just submitting the technical challenge, like 10-14 hours a day of coding, and yeah, just been turned out because you went too deep into system design question, and then you didn't touch on other topics that they wanted to touch. It's like, oh, just send me to stop. And it was like, yeah, good role. Yeah, but yeah, hopefully it will help you and put you in the right place. Yeah. Oh yeah, Michael.
Just a comment. This is really really good. I'm really impressed. I want to go and read up a lot of these things and see some of these videos mentioned. And I mean, just personally, because obviously I know you a fair bit. Well done. Like you've really, like, even just your presentation today has been so spot on, so well done that maybe being in an unemployed state for 3 months did you a lot of good.
I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm so happy, to be honest, because it was time to to learn, and that's what I say. You have to keep the dopamine loop. Once you discover recursion, it's like, oh man.
And look, and the thing is, because I was with you at the last company we were together at, and I did feel sad for a number of you juniors that I said, look, make sure you're selfish about what you are going to get out in the next 6 months, 12 months at this company, because the company is not necessarily going to look after you.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, what happened for you in 3 months is probably more than what happened to you in 18 months in that company.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I found like day-to-day work, you can't really go deep into those stuff because you want to ship code. You can't really dive into recursion. Recursion takes some time to understand all these basic things, but once you understand it at work, you just want to do some framework stuff, like React or Ruby on Rails. Like you don't really have a chance to dive deep into this and disassemble the system. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to mention, when you mentioned system design stuff, I just got it sometime in the last few months that Instagram was a Django app. And I found something that I don't know if it was full breakdown of how it was structured. I remember reading, I think there's some stuff online about that. So that'd really be a good example of something to look up in the and think, oh, maybe how this doing this here. I mean, so,
Yeah, I see.
maybe it was an artist somewhere, so it's like, oh,
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer in system design. It's just like matter of luck, unfortunately. But yeah, you have to be familiar with those concepts and the names and AWS, some basic AWS services and cloud services, and how Linux works. Yeah, but it's all easy to learn, I would say. Cheers to everyone. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. No, wait. Oh yeah, no, you go. You go.
I did one question. What are your thoughts on cover letters?
Cover letters. Yeah, great question. Yeah, we were talking with Brendan about it. As I said, I used to do cover letters, in my previous life. I wasted so much time. And that's what I said. It demotivates me. I put so much love into this application, and I think I'm super qualified for it. I actually applied to my previous role, a company I used to work for. They didn't even respond to me. I was overqualified for this role, like 100%, like double, like the level. They didn't even bother to respond to me. So I recommend not to bother with the cover letters. Nobody reads them. It always goes through algorithms. But if you do personal, like for example, I do cover letters in few occasions. If I go for companies like Mabel, I was applying for, and I know somebody in this company. If I go direct email and I know like, oh, can you like email CTO or somebody in my company is like, oh, can I work 100%, put a cover letter, put a good email. This is, I've been dreaming to work with you. This is, how I applied to Fresher and I applied to, other companies. But for LinkedIn stuff, sick, nobody's going to review your cover letter, unfortunately. Yeah. This is my experience. This is how I feel. It's all like so automated now. HRs don't even look. I have this, as I said, I have this coffee beans thing. Like they look, oh, you see, it looks amazing, and all the devs notice it. There are so many Easter eggs in my CV. You can't believe it. Yeah, you read it. Yeah, it used to be worse. Yeah, but now it's a bit more polite. Yeah, but previously just as hello HR. Like have you read my CV? It's like yeah. Anyways. Yeah, cheers. Yeah.